Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Parshas, Miketz, and Erev Shabbos Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos Chanukah. So we take our three Sefer Torahs, the biggest Ratzon for Yeshua's and Nisim, in the moment of Yeshua's and Nisim, salvations and miracles. Connect Parshas Miketz with Chanukah. An idea based on what we learned in the Sikha just now is like we said last week, a parsha finishes and a parsha begins. The message is within the parsha space itself. In between the beginning and the end is where we have to find the story, the message, the hayrah, the lesson. The Alter Rebbe clearly says that Parshas Vayeshev is connected to Parshas Miketz. In what way? Is that we finish off Vayeshev last week, where Yosef interprets the dreams of the wine pourer and the baker, and it finishes off saying that the wine pourer forgets Yosef. And Yosef is, so to say, left in prison, and the hope that he pinned on the wine pourer is lost. 2 years he forgets about it. Paro has a dream in the beginning of this week's parsha, and then the wine pourer is forced to remember Yosef and to mention Yosef, and that starts the Yeshua, the salvation of Yosef, the Bnei Yisrael in the world. And the lesson is amazing, and this is an idea that Chassidus teaches us. Chassidus teaches us that in order for a seed to become a tree, to become a growth, a plant, it has to be placed in the earth, and when it's placed in the earth, it has to decompose until it loses its entire identity as a seed, and only then can it become a tree. And in Chassidus we learn that in order for a person, a soul is like a seed, and so a seed could stay in a shelf, it could stay as a seed, but if the soul wants to become a tree, Tzadik Katamar Yifrach, to grow like a great powerful tree, we have to go through the yeridos, the descents that we go through, the main descent that the soul comes down to this world into a body, and then the pratistika, the individual descents we sometimes experience throughout our life, that we go into moments of bittul, total self-nullification, and only when the seed totally decomposes, when we totally almost lose our identity, can we grow to become a tree. If we want to become from a seed directly to a tree without going through the process of decomposing in the earth, it's not going to happen. You have to totally, so to say, lose who you were before in order to become the great giant you can become. And that's the story of Yosef. Yosef, in last week's parsha, he gets sold as a slave, and from a slave he becomes a prisoner. And then as a prisoner, he pins his hope on the wine pourer, and even that gets forgotten. He totally loses his whole self-identity. But from that moment from that moment itself, from the fact that he was able to be the success he was while he was a seed, and in the process of decomposing, does he grow to be the powerful tree of Yosef. And it's an amazing idea, because what is Yosef? Paro has a dream, and the Rebbe always talks about why wasn't the interpretation to Paro satisfactory to Paro? Because he knew that it was missing something. Everything about the interpretations to Paro was all about how things affected them personally. Paro is going to have 7 children, they're going to die, they're going to live, he's going to have wars. It was all about their own space. They couldn't think out of the box. The first person who had tremendous scope and vision in the world, really, that's recorded in Torah was Yosef. Everything was about responding to situations. Yosef, when he heard the dreams, he said, God's not talking about you, he's talking about the world. There's a huge thing happening over here. They're going to go through a famine, and God is entrusting you with information to do something about it. And he's giving you the powers now and the head start that you should prepare for the moment of the famine. And when Pari hears that, and he understands that Yosef has the scope of vision that he doesn't have, he realizes that he himself is just a messenger to make Yosef in charge, because Yosef is the person who can make this happen. And that's where he says, without you, no one could do this, because you're the only person who's able to see things in perspective. And what allowed Yosef to become such a giant is the process that he got to go through in his own individual life, to come into a seed, to decompose, to go through all the difficulties, to grow out to be the great tzaddik. And that's the story of Chanukah. Chanukah is the message of the oil, that like the Rebbe says, it's not about the battle, it's about the oil, because we don't celebrate the victory that we were successful in the battle. We celebrate our ability to give off light. But sometimes, in order to get to the point that we could be able to give off light, we have to go through, like the oil, the olive has to be crushed, and when it goes through the process of crushing, does the oil come out, and we become a tool and a vessel to give off light. So the victory, the battles that we have in life, we don't celebrate the difficulties, because the difficulties itself is not anything. The difficulties is only a method and a springboard for us to get to who we really are, to go from a seed to become a tree, to go from Yosef, who's a small boy, who's a servant, who's a jailer, to become the second in command, the person that Pari says, this is the dream, you're the person who can save the world. So we all are empowered, and we have some tremendous koiches in Chanukah to become giants, to become trees, Sadik Atam Yifrach, to become, like the Rebbe says, Neiris Lahoyer, candles that give off light. And when we all be Zaychet to give off light, each one as individuals, and light our space, light ourselves, and together we bring the light of Mashiach, like the candles of Chanukah, the candles of Mashiach based on the Ramban, that teaches us that these are the candles that are going to lead us to the coming of Mashiach. May it happen speeding in our time. Good Shabbos, good Chodesh, and happy Chanukah.